Hey guys, once again, disregard the noise in the background. I have laundry going again. I feel like I think that was the case for my last video. But so I've got all sorts of things to say about this topic. Obviously, a lot of you know what happened yesterday, which is Charlie Kirk getting shot, and he was killed. I mean, assassinated is really the best word for it. That's what it really was. And I don't know why, for some reason, it really, really hit me yesterday. And I don't know why, because, I really wasn't a Charlie Kirk fan. And I'm not, it's not like I followed him that closely. I knew of him. Like, I knew who he was, but I wasn't really a fan. I didn't agree with him on everything. There were a number of things I disagreed with him on, but I want to make one thing clear, too. I'm not coming at this from a right-wing perspective or a left-wing perspective or whatever else from the left or the right, which is... it's to the point to where those fucking labels just annoy the shit out of me. Like people from all different camps when it comes to, like, politics on YouTube, they constantly say the left or the right or whatever. It's like, what do those labels even mean? What do they fucking mean? What do you mean by the left? What do you mean by the right? What are you even talking about? Because they make no sense. And they're just labels that the mainstream media and the government and the elites and the corrupt powers that be in this country want us to use to further divide all of us. That's what it is. So I'm not coming at this from someone who's like a hyper Charlie Kirk fan or like someone who actively fucking hates him with all my soul. If you had to put some silly political label on me, I'm at this point I'm basically an independent. I'm basically in the center, I guess. Very libertarian leaning, I guess you could say. But I see there's a lot of incorrect responses to this right now. Like, there's already a bunch of conservative influencers and prominent right-wingers and politicians even who are already fanning the flames of this and feeding right into what I think, some people want the situation to cause, which is even more division. More polarization, more charged emotions and feelings, because the political climate right now is already charged enough. People are already divided enough as it is. And I feel like this event could actually bring people together. Because it's not just conservatives and right-wingers and Republicans that are reacting to this with horror. Like, there are actually people on the opposite side of the spectrum. There are liberals, progressives, Democrats, whatever, who have seen this, who know about this, and are also horrified. Like, they may have disagreed with Charlie Kirk very heavily, but they don't want the man dead. They don't want stuff like this happening. So I see idiots like Laura Loomer on Twitter talking about how every leftist organization needs to be forcibly shut down and stuff, and how the left, there you go with those idiotic labels again, the left is a threat. You got people like her, like I said, fanning these flames. And my concern is that people like that are going to fan the flames to the point to where they might get someone to do something similar to someone who was sort of the opposite when it comes to Charlie Kirk's, camp, basically. Like, say the Young Turks, for example. The Young Turks decide to go on a speaking tour where they go and they give a speech or whatever, and some person who is emotionally charged because of this, who has been given who has listened to a bunch of rhetoric, will decide to go and try to attempt the same thing on someone like Cenk Uygur or Anna Kasparian or whoever else. A prominent left-winger, a prominent liberal, whatever. Progressive, socialist, whatever label you want to use. I don't want this to happen to anyone. I don't give a fuck how much I disagree with someone. I don't want anyone getting shot for their own opinions and for expressing their freedom of speech. And the way I see it, there is two groups, but it's not liberals and leftists and Democrats versus conservatives and Republicans. That's just stupid. Like, stupid people think that's what it's about. It's not. There is two groups, though. There's the group that recognizes this for what it is and sees that it sets a dangerous precedent, and that regardless of if they agreed or disagreed or were just indifferent to Charlie's views, they still recognize it as being a terrible thing. And then there's the people who are celebrating it. The people who are, frankly, who are mentally ill. Very, very mentally ill. Who probably should not be within regular society. Because if you're gleefully cheering something like this on, there's probably something really fucking wrong with you. And let me just say this now. Anyone in my comment section who wants to come on here and start acting like that is going to get fucking blocked. They're going to get blocked and you're going to get removed. I'm not going to put up with that shit. But that's how I see it. There are two groups, and those are the two groups. I mean, you would think that some of these people who are cheering this on, you would think that Charlie Kirk was like the second coming of Hitler or Stalin or something. I mean, fuck that. You would have thought that he was like a serial rapist or something, like a pedophile or something, or just something horrible, like something terrible. When really, when you get right down to it, he was pretty much your run-of-the-mill basic conservative. Yeah, he was a conservative. He had conservative positions on social issues. Who would have thought? I mean, it's idiotic. It's so fucking idiotic. Yeah, the man had his opinions. They were polarizing opinions, but he had his opinions. Everyone does. There were plenty of things I didn't agree with him on too. But that doesn't mean I wanted the man dead, or that I'm going to cheer on his death. Especially when you consider that the man has a wife, he has a 3-year-old daughter, and a son who's only a year old. And now they're not going to have their father. And people want to deflect to, well, what about school shootings, and, you know, what about them? It's a tragedy. And it's like, no one said it wasn't. No one said that people who lose their children or who lose their wives or husbands or whoever else in any shooting, no one's saying that's not a tragedy either. You know, and let's be clear, these are different, very, very different scenarios, okay? A school getting shot up, a tragedy. Both are tragedies, but it's different context, okay? This guy was shot for what? For simply expressing opinions, for going and having debates, open dialogue, okay, engaging in free speech. It's a very different setting from, you know, a school shooting. And again, I'm not saying that it's worse or anything, or that it's not a tragedy. Both are a tragedy. Both are terrible things, but you don't expect something like this. You don't expect something like with what happened with Charlie. With school shootings, unfortunately, you know, when you hear about one, it's not all that surprising, unfortunately. And people are going to debate about what the solution should be and about, you know, guns and the Second Amendment and whatever. And look, I'm not here to start a debate about that. I'm not here to talk about that. That's not the point of this video. But I'm just pointing out that there are people who are deflecting a lot. And that's another thing. There are people who are really just being pussies about this. Like, I would respect them more if they just decided to be part of the group that's celebrating this. Like, they're not outright saying that they're happy that it happened, but they're also, like, very much hinting that he had it coming to him, because they're like, well, you know, he was voicing these opinions, and, you know, they were, you know, it was bound to happen. He kind of brought it on himself. Like, no, that's absolute bullshit. No one deserves, or no one brings it upon themselves to get shot in the fucking neck because they're voicing whatever opinion. That's bullshit. People who are saying that can fuck right off. And that can so easily be reversed. So easily be reversed. You know, if some left-wing activist is out there, okay, talking about how, you know, puberty blockers are all well and good, how it's okay for a fucking 12-year-old to go on puberty blockers in the off chance that they might be trans or whatever, and they get shot, and, you know, some right-winger person on Fox News is like, well, you know, they were kind of saying some pretty controversial stuff, so they kind of brought it on themselves. That would be bullshit too, and I would condemn that too. It would be just as wrong, just as vile. It's insane to me. Because the man had differing opinions from yours, he somehow deserved this, or he had it coming to him, or it's a good thing that this happened. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around that mindset. And look, just to put things into perspective, me, like, I'm agnostic, I'm not religious at all, I'm gay, I'm in a long-term relationship with my boyfriend, I live with him, and engage in premarital sex. I mean, you know, versus Charlie Kirk, who was very religious, Christian, family man, married with a wife, 2 kids. Very, very different backgrounds, extremely different backgrounds, okay? And I'm horrified, and I'm saying this is fucked up. I'm saying this man did not deserve any of this, did not deserve this at all. The fact that that has to be said is genuinely sad. It's really fucked up. And the thing is, like, there are even people who are prominent, like, left-wingers. Kyle Kulinski, Secular Talk on YouTube. He actually debated Charlie Kirk in person. I think it was in 2018 or something. And, like, Kyle Kulinski even said that, like, he talked with Charlie. He spent a little time with him, you know, off camera. And even he said that Charlie Kirk seemed like a nice guy, like a good guy, a genuinely good guy. And from what I could see, I mean, a bunch of disagreements aside, yeah, he didn't seem like a bad guy at all. And people are like taking quotes from supposedly from Charlie, which I'm sure that plenty of them are taken out of context and sliced and diced, and they're being posted right down to make him look worse than what his opinions actually were. There's even some retard out there who's posting a quote from him saying that gay people should be stoned to death. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Charlie didn't fucking say that, and I'm pretty sure he didn't believe that. And the reason I say that is because one of the people that's part of his Turning Point USA organization is Rob Smith, who is a gay black man. I'm pretty sure if Charlie thought gay people should be stoned to death, he wouldn't literally employ gay people as part of his organization. Yeah. Fucking retards. But I think that we've lost sight of the fact that it's not about the disagreements that we have as people. I can disagree with you on a number of things. That doesn't mean that I have to hate you. That doesn't mean that I think you're a bad person for believing in what you believe in. We can still come together and figure out what we do agree on and what we do have in common, and we can still be friends. Okay, we come together based on what we have in common, what we do share as people, not what we disagree with or what divides us. And like, we've lost sight of that a lot, and it's sad. You know, Charlie wasn't even a politician. He was an influencer, he was an activist. That's it. And again, I mean, from what I could tell, disagreements aside, he seemed like a fairly good guy. You know, I feel bad for his loved ones. I feel bad for his wife and his kids. You know, I see people out there saying that they mourn for his wife and kids, but they feel no sympathy or empathy to Charlie or whatever. And again, fuck you guys. Fuck you. You're only saying that because he said things that you disagreed with, and they probably hurt your feelings too, and therefore you're going to be like, I don't feel any empathy for Charlie or any sympathy for him. Fuck you. That's fucking moral cowardice. That is fucking moral cowardice is what it is. Absolute fucking fence-sitting bullshit. You know what? I do have sympathy for Charlie. I do have empathy for him. Not because I agree with him on everything, not because I was a fan of his, but because I know that if I was on stage and all I was doing was debating people and expressing my free speech, I wouldn't want that to happen to me either. I don't want to get shot in the neck randomly and have my life end prematurely like that when I have my whole fucking life ahead of me. The man was 31 years old. Like only 3 years older than I am. He wasn't that much older than I am now. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to anyone. And to anyone that does happen to, regardless of if I agree with you or not, yeah, you have my sympathy. If whoever that happens to. Charlie has my sympathy. I do feel bad for the guy. His life got taken away from him prematurely at a very early stage. Yeah, I fucking feel bad for him. Yeah, I have fucking sympathy for him. Doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. Doesn't mean I'm a Charlie Kirk fanboy. It just means that I recognize that he was a person. He was a human being who was expressing his First Amendment right. All he did, the basis of his organization, all he was about was going to different universities, campuses, wherever, and fostering a dialogue, fostering speech and debate, sometimes about uncomfortable topics, but topics that are worth talking about anyways. That's what he was all about. So, yeah, people who are saying that, again, it's those people that aren't really celebrating it, but are being little bitches nonetheless, saying that, well, I don't really have any sympathy for Charlie, but I have sympathy for his wife and kids. Yeah, go fuck yourselves. You're cowards. People who are saying that, you're fucking cowards. At least the people who are outright celebrating it, at least they're not being, they're not trying to tiptoe around the fact that they're pieces of shit. At least they're being honest about the fact that they're evil pieces of shit. Okay, you guys are being pussies about it. I mean, you guys are being like fucking... I think of Grima Wormtongue from the Lord of the Rings movies when I see that shit in The Last Day. But yeah, the suspect hasn't been caught yet. There was an older guy arrested yesterday, supposedly he was detained, but he wasn't the one who actually shot Charlie. And then there's been a whole thing going around about how it was some trans leftist Antifa member, but that's bullshit, I think, too. So I don't think the person has actually been caught. There is a theory out there. Just a theory. I'm not saying it's a fact, but there is a theory out there that it was an Israeli operative or agent, because Charlie Kirk, for most of his career, he was very pro-Israel, very pro-us being involved in Israel and fighting Israel's war and donating all this money to Israel. Something I disagree with him on heavily. There's an example. But apparently in the last few weeks and then the last few days, he had been doing like conversations with other right-wingers, and apparently he had started to become a bit more critical of Israel, and had started kind of putting his foot down on it. And because of that, again, it's a theory, but knowing how much power Israel has over our politicians and over a lot of things, to me, it's not too far out there. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist, you can call me wacky or whatever for even considering that, but it's whatever. I can see it, honestly. There's so much corruption and so much bribery. I can see it. But anyways, well, that's going to be it. This video is almost 20 minutes long, so I'm going to end it here. Again, whether you agreed with Charlie or not, whether you liked him or not, whether you were a fan of his or not, no one deserves this. Like, no one deserves this. No one deserves to have their life ended prematurely when they were doing nothing wrong at all. And no, expressing opinions that you don't agree with, or more, better way of putting it for a certain group of people out there, opinions that hurt your feelings, that offend you. No, that's not a reason for someone to be taken out like this. Grow up. All right, that aside, that's it. I'm done. Peace.